Ahoy hoy, I am Planarwalk, and welcome to Rush of Stupid. Today on the panel, we have Team Skeptic.
Oh, what up, everybody? How y'all doing tonight?
So, we don't have a lot of in this show today, but I have found some interesting types of stupid. Like, who here loves capitalism?
Oh, boy.
I'm guessing you do, team?
That's a yes. That's a yes from me.
Yeah, well, there are some people, as everyone knows, there are some people that are critical of capitalism, or at least capitalism as it exists in its current form. And this big-brained person, Benji Backer, I have no idea who this is. He says, there are a lot of young people who seem to hate capitalism but love their iPhones.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of them things where, like, I have heard this thing. Now, firstly, I prefer Samsung over Apple. But just because you don't... It's like saying... It'd be like someone saying, oh, you're a libertarian and you don't want to pay taxes? Well, why do you pay your taxes then? It's like, well, you need to pay your taxes, otherwise you're going to have the government knocking on your door. And
yeah, but I think on both sides, there's hypocritical people on both sides. Like, there's a lot of pro-communist people who have no problem enjoying the indulgences of capitalism, as well as there's a lot of like conservative capitalists who just absolutely love the socialist constructs of police, fire, and ambulance. So, yeah. I mean, there's hypocrites on both sides, but that's why I say a lot of people, if they ever find themselves completely on one side, they're probably on the wrong side. No matter what side they're on, their ideas and ways of thinking are probably wrong if they find themselves too entrenched in either belief system.
Yeah, like, there's also... A lot of people also don't realize that there's things like market socialism as well, which is basically you have markets, but it's the means of production are owned by the workers. You know?
Okay.
So it's like just because someone has iPhones would still exist in something like market socialism. It's just that it would be the company Apple would be owned by the workers instead of by whoever the CEO is, right? And I think that a lot of people just don't understand that just because something is socialist or communist or whatever, that doesn't mean that there's no money or anything like that.
Yeah. So I think most of the negative connotation comes from the historical relevance of communism and the deaths that are associated with communist regimes. Oh,
definitely. Like, I think it comes not just the deaths and all that, but more the authoritarianism of the USSR, of China, of these places that called themselves communist or socialist. And so people immediately go, well, that means socialism or communism must be authoritarian. And it's like, well, no, there's different variations, which is why it's good to discuss policy rather than, is this policy, like, rather than saying, are these sets of policies socialist or not? You discuss the individual policy, which is far better than saying, well, this is socialist, this isn't socialist. Which is why you sort of sometimes get into the weeds of, well, is this policy socialist? And it's like, well, does it really matter? If the policy is good, then it's good. If it's bad, then it's bad. No need to argue over whether it's socialist or not.
Yeah.
So, yeah. What was the next thing? Here we go. Okay, I don't know what this is, but it's... We'll find out. I sometimes forget what I've got lined up. Oh, okay. So this person says, okay, so a grape shouldn't be catching fire. Metal creates fire and sparks when microwaves attempt to pass through it. Metals, not grapes. That to me is confirmation that chemtrails are indeed being sprayed from above and nanometals are making their way into our food. Not good, but thanks for the video. I mean, chemtrails. Don't chemtrails.
Yeah, so they're associating the phenomenon of grapes having plasma inside of a microwave to chemtrails being true.
Yeah. Obviously, this is from a video that shows what you're describing here. But like chemtrails, how do you get chemtrails from that? Like even if like that's a lot.
I'm assuming they're making an assumption that they're absorbing the metals through the chem. You know what I'm saying? Like the metal, the aluminum in the chemtrails. Because a lot of they're getting a few things misunderstood. They're taking some aspects of geoengineering, some thoughts on geoengineering, and saying that that's what chemtrails are. That those thoughts are absolutely what chemtrails are made of. So they're just basically spraying chemicals and aluminum flakes everywhere. And the grapes are somehow absorbing the aluminum flakes, and that's what's setting off the microwave?
Yeah. Firstly, just because... let's assume that there were metals in a grape. Like, that doesn't mean that the metals come from chemtrails. Right? Like, metals exist everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I don't know that you would find a heavy metal in a fruit, like in a grape like that. I don't know that you'd find enough of that to spark anything, but that's not what's actually going on when grapes spark.
Well, we've got a lot of iron in our bloods.
Yeah, but we have to ingest that. I don't know. Like, I'm not a biologist, so.
Yeah, but my point is that there are there's metal within like a lot of living organisms. Just because there's metal,
no, I'm not saying that.
Just because there's metal in a living organism doesn't mean that it's that doesn't mean that the metal comes from chemtrails or whatnot.
Yeah, no, that's a jump.
Yeah, really big leap in logic there. So, has anyone here heard of Jordan Petersen?
Yeah, I know Jordan Petersen.
Okay, well,
he says some very dumb shit, and then also says some fairly intelligent shit.
Well,
he goes back and forth with me.
We're gonna take a break from him saying some really dumb shit. And he's actually going to say something that he has a really good point in, right? So,
all right.
Yeah, let me know if you can hear it, because... So, here we go. Here's a really good point here.
What is this? The rats are all like this. The rat goes like this. So the rat's like this. The normal rat is like this. That's the normal rat. Like this. Like this. It sniffs. It's like this for quite a while. He's like this. And then maybe he sniffs. You are now a normal rat. Rat.
I kind of actually wonder what the context is there.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, anything taken out of context can be funny, but I don't know what he's talking about.
I don't know either, but it's just like, here's a point. The rat is like this, and you are now a rat. Like...
Oh no, Jordan Petersen, he's a weirdo.
He is. Like, I do disagree with a lot of his stuff. Like, honestly, when it comes to clinical psychology, he does have some good points there. Because he is a clinical psychologist. It'd be like, I don't know. Let's take I'm trying to think of a good example that it'd be like me, and like a lot of people don't like when I get into politics, political stuff, but whenever I talk about flat earthers, everyone is in agreement that flat earthers are stupid, except for the flat earthers. But when it comes to politics, people will say, "Oh, you're a dumbass." And I can actually get that. Or when it comes to... Probably economics would be a better example, because I can agree that I'm probably a dumbass in economics.
Oh, don't worry. The chat is always filled up with armchair philosophers, armchair economists, and armchair physicists. Everybody will tell you you're a dumbass, whether you're right or wrong. And 9 times out of 10, even when you're wrong, they're wrong too, because they don't know what the fuck they're talking about either.
True.
It happens in every time I bring up something controversial, I have to deal with somebody going, "You don't know what the fuck, you should stop talking about this." I'm like, "Oh, okay. So you absolutely just want me to talk about one topic to you? That's it. Just the one thing that, okay, fine. We'll talk about one topic just for you." Fuck that.
Yeah.
Everybody's going to say you're wrong about something, bro.
Truth Nerd says the armchair whiskey addict.
Hey. I actually don't drink on pretty much any days but Whiskey Wednesday. I don't go out and drink and stuff. I just sit at home and drink with my friends online. Yeah.
Although we've got a few people in the chat saying that they have a comfy chair, not an armchair. And one person even says that they're an economist, philosopher, and a lawyer. Sounds legit.
Was that Nerd Angle? Yeah, Nerd Angle's also a insurance salesman as well.
Okay. But yeah, like, it's one of them things where, although, to be fair, the reason why people are all in agreement with flat Earth related stuff, is because it's something that is so blatantly obvious that the Earth is not flat.
90% of the people out there graduated the 9th grade, 90% of the people have an intelligence above 13 years old. So obviously, like, that's going to be the one thing that we can all come into agreement upon. Yeah. But you should just watch my chat one day when I make even a remotely political statement. They just erupt into saying how wrong I am, how wrong everybody else is, how wrong each other is. Even the people that are agreeing will disagree. That's why I don't even bother with politics.
Yeah.
Let those people fucking go argue in a different live chat.
I do like politics because, as one of my, as a content creator that I follow says, he says, politics is dumb, but very important. Right?
Yeah. I mean, politics is important. I mean, it's how policy gets made.
Yeah.
But it comes down to the thing that everybody has a perfect world they want to live in. Yeah. A capitalist perfect world is going to differ extremely from a communist worldview, or how their perfect world would exist. Well, and there's no right answer when you deal in extremities.
It's one of them things where first you got to think, okay, how perfect are we at, or what we've got to think, okay, what would this perfect world look like? And we've got to first consider, how are people likely to act in this perfect world? So you go to libertarians and they'll say, well, if there were no taxes and no handouts to corporations and all that, everyone would be making informed decisions and be able to, and the free market would decide. And it's like, okay, well, what about the fact that people don't often make informed decisions? And
right.
Then
in a libertarian perfect world, there is no answer to a worldwide pandemic.
Yeah.
Because there's no structure into which get information, informed information, like information from doctors, or there's no way for you to get that to the people and have the people understand. They're just pretty much self-reliant on whatever medical expertise they have, or that is shared with the people immediately around them. So there's reasons to have government. Yeah. I'm a lot more libertarian than I am right or left, but I believe that people should pay taxes. I believe that, I do believe that there's I have a free education idea that when I think of free education, I don't think, it should just be given to everybody. No, that's not the case. You should be given education up to your graduate high school. Immediately after that, if you want to continue on, then the government should offer some way of allowing you to continue on, because a smarter population is a less expensive population to take care of in the long run. So it's just been shown that smarter people are not going to need, they're going to have better jobs. They're going to be more successful in life. And those things right there, whether it's in a communist state, a capitalist state, or somewhere in between, results in a more intelligent population and less strain on the government for social services. So I believe that it's a payoff that if we just invested in our children a bit, we would probably have a better future ahead of us.
Oh, absolutely.
Put a lot more money in science. Just take the money out of entertainment, put it in science.
Yeah,
but that's that's saying that we could convince the ignorant populace to stop focusing on watching, Days of Our Lives in the middle of the day and start watching, Leonard Susskind.
Yeah, there's also I did want to also mention you've also got alternatively to the libertarians, you've got the fascists or authoritarians that say humans can't be trusted to make any rational decision. Every decision must be made by the government, and it's like, well, no,
I don't think that's right either.
Yeah, and it's probably somewhere in between, and it's the question to the extent, and it's like, yes, there are some decisions that people can't be trusted to make, like hell, like a good example would be, very good and simple example would be, what is the best speed to drive at? Humans, would not be trusted to make that decision. If we took away speed limits, I actually think that the number of car accidents would go up, because people would be driving around at, 200 miles an hour or whatever.
Is that true for the Autobahn?
Well, that's a sort of thing where you've got different lanes, isn't it?
No, the Autobahn, there's portions of the Autobahn that have no speed limit whatsoever. And I want to say, I believe what I read way back in the past was that it's one of the safer roads to travel, and it has no speed limits on it.
Wouldn't it be, I'm pretty sure, I may be wrong about this, but doesn't the Autobahn have like multiple lanes?
I don't know. I've never been to Germany, so. And
some of the lanes have speed limits, because I do know that one thing that does help with reducing car crashes is, like, firstly, more lanes. Yes, that's going to help, because there's more space on. Essentially, there's more space on the road.
And I'm not disagreeing with the need for speed limits. I actually think that's a good thing, is to have some kind of regulated driving, because cars are very dangerous. They can kill people. So I don't want to say that we should just have free reign to do anything. That would be a hard libertarian's point of view, where he says, you know what? Look over there on the left side of the highway. It's 3 a.m. in the morning. There's no cars on that side. Why should I not be able to use the left side of the highway if the right side is slightly congested? So he goes onto the left side of the highway, and because there's no regulation, he then runs into somebody that he doesn't see and causes accidents. So yeah, I see the need for regulation when you're doing things like operating heavy machinery or instruments that could potentially cause serious injury or death. Like, I can understand how come a surgical doctor needs to be licensed medically, but these things, or a lawyer needs to be licensed to properly represent you in court. I can see where the government would need to step in and make sure that these things are licensed. Yeah. But I don't like them stepping into every aspect of my life. Yeah, I prefer them to stay out for the most part.
Yeah, like, it shouldn't be that if I were to smoke weed, then, I shouldn't have to go to jail for that. It shouldn't be that the government regulates it regulates exactly the amount that I can eat. or hell, it shouldn't be that the government can regulate what I can spend my money on. If I want to spend my money on, cocaine and hookers, is that irresponsible of me? Yes, but it's my own choice.
Might be. I mean, if you've got $1 billion and you want to spend 10,000 on cocaine and hookers, I don't think that's irresponsible.
Well, yeah, like it depends on how much money
sounds like
you
a fucking
have.
Party.
I remind you that every warning label is because somebody did that.
Oh, I don't know if you could hear that. So Lord Luminous Pooh said that every warning label is because somebody did that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of like how Gorilla Glue is going to now have to start putting labels say this is not intended for use in your hair. Because there's an actual ignorant ass people out there that are dumb enough to say, well, shit, hair glue is out at the store. What this one right here is spray and it says glue too. I wonder, and on it it says don't put in eyes, mouth, or skin, but it doesn't say hair. Yeah, so now they're gonna have to put hair on there because of stupid people.
Yeah. Anyway,
but stupid people will always exist.
The next thing we're going to take a look at is Kyle Kulinski. Now, I have seen a bit of Kyle Kulinski. He runs a show called Secular Talk, I think. Is that Kyle Kulinski? I think it is. Or the Kyle Kulinski Show. I don't know if it used to be called Secular Talk or not. But anyway, when it comes to this, he has some pretty bad takes, not gonna lie. Let me just make it so that team doesn't hear an echo, and then I'll play his thing, and let me know if you want to pause it at any point. So here we go.
Oh, by the way, no actual person in the real world uses that term unironically. It just doesn't happen. In elitist liberal academic circles, they might talk about this shit, but that's not a normal common person. It's not. There is nobody who's working a 9-to-5 and trying to pay the fucking bills who's also, thinking about intersectionality and being cisgender. That doesn't happen. On top of bringing up intersectionality, she brings up the patriarchy.
So just to give a bit of context, they're talking about that CIA ad, which honestly it is mega cringe. Like the CIA ad is, it is bad, but like what Kyle Kulinski's response to it, like saying that nobody is concerned about things like intersectionality or being cisgender. Like, I know people that that are working 9-to-5 or whatnot who talk about things like cisgender stuff or talk about intersectionality because it's important to them. Maybe they might be a feminist, maybe they might be trans. And when you are involved in those circles, you're more worried about things like intersectionality because it does have a bit of has a bit of an effect on your life, right?
Intersectionality is horrible to conversation, horrible to discuss, to honest discussion. You start treating people like they're less than you because they don't identify as you. This has happened. It runs rampant in all of the social justice circles. I'm all for trans rights. I've spoke out very many times about trans rights, gay rights. I've talked about the fucked up shit that's happening in Texas with them being able to, with like social service workers being able to decline people based on their sexual preference. I've talked about a lot of this stuff because I'm in support of all that. But if you go back and you look at intersectionality is typically used as a means of trimming the fat. Okay, so you have in this, I'll give you a very specific example. Taylor Swift and her involvement in third wave feminism. Eventually, they got to a point where, because Taylor Swift's the things that she was saying were not in line with what the rest of the feminists were saying, her and her types of people were then intersectionality cut them out of the what was considered true feminists and made them white feminists. That is ridiculous. Intersectionality, if it goes unchecked, what it will always do is it will always find the outliers of a group, trim those people off, and reform a new group. Then it goes in and it finds the outliers within that new group, trims them off, and gets it all down to a new group. Eventually, you have a group of one that is the way we are anyway. We're all individual people. There's no way that you can relate to me, that I can relate to you, or anybody else in the chat fully. We all have our uniqueness. The intersectionality will, I can take it and say, Planer, you're just like me, and bring you in. And then I find something that I don't like about you, or that doesn't completely line up with the way I think. And I can use intersectionality to say, well, Planer Walk's not like me. Actually, Planer Walk belongs to this completely other group now, that where you and I may have 90% of our beliefs may be the same, but because there's something I'm passionate about, or I feel is non-negotiable for you to believe in, I can use intersectionality to trim you out of my group. Feminists do it all the time.
Well, I'd actually say that that's more or less using this idea, or using the aesthetics of intersectionality as a weapon, rather than actually, because intersectionality, from what I understand, is a way to say, okay, a lot of people will say, okay, well, black people don't have it all that bad, because look at this black person who's, look at Neil deGrasse Tyson, he's not oppressed. And it's like, okay, well, that's true. Like, Neil deGrasse Tyson isn't as oppressed as, as a poor white dude, right? But that's because of class issues. And we need to, when talking about...
Yeah, socioeconomics plays much bigger of a role. Socioeconomics plays way bigger of a role than anyone cares to admit to. If you go into the poor communities of America, it is primarily filled with minorities when you look at the per capita. Okay, per capita, per number of minorities. Here's a good thing that anybody can go look up. 33% of all black children live below the poverty line in America. This doesn't mean that there's more poor black kids than there are poor white kids. There's so many more white people in America that the number of poor white children actually exceeds the number of poor black children. However, the percentage of population is much greater in the African American community. And then if you look at the socioeconomic influences that lead to future generations being put in that same situation, now that's a conversation to be had right there. What can we do about the socioeconomic situation of poor people to help them make better for their children? If I don't want to be poor anymore, I'm actually thinking about it the wrong way. I have children. I should be thinking of how to not make my children poor anymore in the future, so that their children aren't poor, and so that their children aren't poor. We in America, we do not address that situation at all. We tend to focus on race or sex more than we do socioeconomic statuses. That's how we help people. Let's help populations by trying to reduce the number of people that live below the poverty line.
Yeah, the idea behind intersectionality is that there are groups of people that are oppressed on different bases, right? So, or that each group of people has unique struggles unique to them. So, for example, a white person won't experience things like racism the same way that a black person would. So black people would have unique experiences in racism, whereas white people wouldn't have those experiences. The same would go for LGBT.
Now, okay, hold on, Planer. Let me say, that'd be great if it stopped there. But here's the truth of the matter, right? They start off by saying, white people don't experience racism the same as black people. So then you have this group that experiences more racism. It's the black folks, right? Or the African Americans. So we'll just leave it at that. I'm not in disagreement with that at all. Then what happens with intersectionality is then they say, well, men have more options than women. Women are now even more oppressed than men. So let's use intersectionality to exclude the black men from being as oppressed as the black women. And then you go within those groups again, and then you intersectionalize those groups again. Eventually, if you never stop doing that, you get down to a group of one, which is what we all are anyway. We are all unique individuals. There is no one way to fix all problems. There's only a way to identify what a specific group is and try to generalize the problems for them. Once you generalize the problems for them, they use intersectionality to determine which ones in the group are not really covered by that generalization, and then you have a smaller group. Again, it always gets down to a group of one because we're all unique. We all have our own individual experiences. I agree, intersectionality is good to identify certain problems in society, and we should use it, but it should never be used, like you said, as a weapon. Yeah. When it's used as a weapon, then that's to take away the experiences or suffering of somebody because they don't completely identify with your type of suffering, and that's not fair to the other people that are suffering.
Yeah, well, yeah, like what I was going to continue on and say is that when it comes to like LGBT issues, like people like, let's say gay people, they have faced certain types of discrimination that are unique to gay people. And not, a straight person wouldn't experience that type of discrimination. Now, when it comes to intersectionality, now it's easy to look at these two issues as completely separate, but there is a bit of overlap when it comes to the people that are gay and the people that are black, right? There are gay black people. And the gay black people, they have a very unique experience of both racism and being discriminated against because they're gay. And it's how do these things play off each other? Now, as I said, you shouldn't use that as a weapon to say, well, you're not a gay black person, well, your opinion doesn't, or you're not a lesbian black woman, then your opinion doesn't matter. Like, that's not how it should be used. In fact, I think that it's good to...
Oh, I agree. It shouldn't be used like that. The unfortunate problem is that it is used like that. We see it through you being used through cancel culture. We see it being used in many of the modern movements that we see. And like I said, I can give, like, while I don't have a lot of examples to give just outright right here, I can give specific ones that I've done research into. And if anybody goes and looks at Taylor Swift's involvement with the feminist movement, they ate her alive. They ate her alive because at some point she wasn't feminist enough for them. So they basically use intersectionality to say, well, now there's a new type of feminist. Now there's the Taylor Swift feminist. Now there's the white feminist. And that's what they call them. I'm not using that to spark race and race problems or to make something bigger than what it is. That's just the term that the third wave feminist movement used to describe the type of feminism that Taylor Swift had, white feminism. So that's what intersectionality breeds to me. And until I see it breeding differently, until I see it being used differently, I'm not going to just, assume that it means something else. Your definitions are correct, yes, but I don't think they apply to the way that modern society uses it.
I do think that it is important to recognize that there are certain struggles that certain groups of people go through. Like, I've thought of the perfect example, right? So there are issues, right, that men go through, right? And there are issues that women go through. There are, if you have been a man all your life, you have had certain experiences that are unique to you, and same with being a woman. Now, if you are trans, there are certain experiences that are unique to you, but if you are a trans man versus being a trans woman, these experiences are unique specifically to you because trans women go through, even though there is an overlap in in trans women and trans men, their experiences, it's not going to be exactly the same. So a trans, like for example, trans women, they are targeted disproportionately by TERFs, right? Whereas I can't remember the exact things that I've heard, and no one talks about, and because of that, also no one talks about issues when it comes to trans men. So it's one of them things where intersectionality is useful for analysing the problems there. As I said, like, intersectionality should not be used as a tool to attack people. It should just be used as a tool to analyse issues relating to specific groups of people and, how their struggles are possibly different to another group of people's struggles based on intersection.
Yeah, and generalization, I think it definitely works, because if you ask me, like, I don't feel like there's a real need for third wave feminism in America, or fourth wave, or whatever wave they're on. But I do think that there's a need for the first wave of trans rights. Like, we need that movement. We need a general acceptance of trans people into society, where, to be honest with you, the average person doesn't really I don't, outside of my YouTube and having the trans friends that I have through YouTube, I don't know any trans people in real life. Maybe I do and I just don't know, but I just don't know people. Like, I'm not aware of any of my friends or any experiences in real life that I've had with trans people, but I've made a lot of friends on the internet with trans people. So, like, I see the one true movement that needs to be stepped up right now is for the LGBTQ community. They're the ones that are really being oppressed right now. I think there's need for talks about the certain racisms that happen within America. Sometimes I think that they're not racism. That's a bad word. Prejudices. I think there's a lot of prejudices that we still have in America that lead to racist ideologies. Yeah. And I want to see things like that end. But if you look at the history of America, America has come out of that and is continuing to move forward. Just 30 or 40 years ago, you go look at the number of black CEOs, of women CEOs. It's significantly lower than what it was, than what it is today. So we are making a movement, and a lot of people want the movement to happen faster, but the movement happens as fast as it does. What we don't have out there is people standing up and speaking up for trans people that are mainstream. Most of the people that speak up for trans people are usually in the trans community, and they're not really given the platform that they need to make people aware of some of their hardships. Yeah. As someone in Texas, I've seen it firsthand without even having met a trans person, to see that my state passes legislature that treats them differently than me. That should never be the case.
Well, allyship is important, just being an ally to, for example, let's say that you are a part of a social movement, and you're a part of that social movement, and you're trying to trying to raise awareness, right? Now, let's say someone comes along who is not a part of your social movement, but they're an ally to it. So just say you're trying to, let's say it's the 70s and you're trying to promote awareness that gay people should have rights. Promote that.
Right.
And a straight person comes along and says, you know what, I agree, gay people should have rights. You should be able to get married if you want. You should be able to adopt kids. Now,
yeah,
the way that some people go about it, some people are highly Puritan. Right, and this is what
right.
In the left-wing community is referred to as woke scolds, right? They'll be like, well, you're not gay, therefore you can't speak for us. You're trying to be an ally. You're just trying to promote your cis agenda or your straight agenda or whatnot. And it's like, well, I'm trying to help you. You need allies, and not every person is within these communities is like that. You've actually got, I actually find that you've got like a small minority of people that are incredibly loud, right? And they are the people that on
all sides, not just the left, on all sides. The right, even the libertarians,
absolutely,
even people who don't identify as politically but hold like very like deep conservative beliefs. They might not be involved politically, may not even say, hey, I'm one way or the other, but they hold deep conservative beliefs, whether they be religious or just from like fucked up parts of the country or the world, you know. That's something that like you're nailing it when you say that the narrative is usually controlled by a small group of people that are the loudest, and when they speak, other people hear them and assume that the rest of the people that fall under that umbrella all believe the same ideology that one person is putting out. So yeah, you're right about that.
Yeah, I do. Like, real quick, I have to say, I do like the frame that I paused on for Kyle Kalinski's face. Looks like he's about to get jizzed on. But, yeah, like, when it comes...
I just want to know what he's sitting on. How big are the batteries?
True. But, yeah, like, intersectionality and all that, it should be... There are ways to use it, and there are ways that have been toxic. And, like, when, you know, when woke scolds use it, it's one of them things where, you know, woke scolds should be called out. And I think that there are people out there that do call them out. I think that, you know, you promoting certain people that, like, I'll promote people like Vosh that call woke scolds out, or like Destiny that call woke scolds out. You know, these people, they aren't afraid to go, well, you know, you're being a dumb fuck, or you're being hyper insular, or whatever, you know. And you know, I think that it's good to promote these people that will call them out, because otherwise you do have people like you know, Anita Sarkeesian being the poster child of feminism.
Jeez, get that lady off of the internet. Get her off the internet. Toxic, the most toxic person that... I'm not going to say she's the most toxic person on the internet, because Daniel Pratt does exist, but she's up there. She's up there. I hate when people sit back and wait for that perfect opportunity to inject themselves into drama, and that's all they're there for. Is just, there's no positive promotion of anything. It's her job on the internet is to find a problem in everything. Even look at the comic book industry. Look at what feminism has done to the comic book industry. Nobody wants to read comics anymore. Nobody. And you know why? Because it all started with feminists like Anita Sarkeesian, who don't even read comics, don't even play video games, injecting themselves into that arena to make a change that they're completely unaware of whether the change is wanted, welcome, or even profitable. And yet they still make movements because they're the loudest, and it's a tiny ass little group.
To be fair, the comic book industry has always been very progressive.
I mean, I wouldn't know I wouldn't want to make a statement like that without me actually looking into it and knowing research like that. I've just seen what they've done with the recent video games, and you know, I'm fairly aware of some of the feminist injunctions or SJW, inserting themselves into the comic book arena to make massive changes without, you know, following that up as being readers or contributors to the final product when it is changed. You see it in sales dropping. You see it even in video games. Video games are having to come out and make apologies because they showed too much curve on a girl's butt in a video game. And actually remaking the video game, the creator goes and removes the curves from the girl's butt so that she does not look over-sexualized. It's a fucking video game. Look at the people playing it. Ask yourself, do the people playing it want to see the curves removed? Do the people not whether they get off on it? I doubt that there's a guy beating his dick. There might be a few, but I doubt like the majority of gamers are beating their dick off to a girl's digital ass on screen when it's covered by pants and everything like that. But because it's sexualizing women, it must be removed. the pressure gets put on by this community of people who aren't going to purchase the game, so that these people are no longer being offensive. Everybody's afraid of offending somebody. That needs to stop.
Yeah.
We need to be allowed to offend people, because when we offend people, when we speak our mind, that is the only way for good and bad ideas to begin to be talked about. If we're all scared of offending everybody, then never will we ever discuss these ideas, and a bad idea may become rampant. Go watch the video Jubilee, the most wokest, by the YouTube channel Jubilee. Who is the most woke? Okay, that is the name of the thing. These 6 individuals are literally walking on eggshells to tell everybody else why they're the wokest without offending anybody else. It's beautiful. It's lovely. If you watch it for the comedy value, it's lovely. If you're taking these jackasses seriously, the problem runs deeper. But if you're laughing at them, it's comedy gold.
Yeah, like when it comes to these issues, like I think that it is good to have things like representation in video games, representation in different forms of media. I think that's a good thing, right? However, I don't like I will. I did not like in the Arrowverse, right, when they had these sort of girl power things. I liked the idea of them. I liked the idea of the girls teaming up, but as soon as it got into the girl power, it's like, oh my god, like it was.
People want to watch you want to watch a real good girl power movie? Go watch G.I. Jane with Demi Moore. A woman who gets put in a situation where only men are there and held to the same standards, physical standards, as men are, struggles to get through a program that most men struggle to get through, and ultimately prevails. It's a great fucking story about women overcoming a woman overcoming fucking odds against her, and standing up to, if there is even a patriarchy, standing up to that fucking patriarchy. That's a good That's a good movie for woman power, for girl power, in my opinion.
Like I enjoyed things like now I'm gonna have a hot take. Now as bad as, like, a lot of people are talking about the Avengers Endgame thing, right? Now that was borderline, right? The whole scene where all the women come in. Now it was too on the nose, right? But at least it didn't do anything overly cringy with it. Or at least I don't remember it doing. Did it say like girl power or anything? I don't think it did. I may be wrong about that. I haven't seen that movie in a while. But it did it. It was too on the nose, right? It didn't feel forced. I will admit that. I hate when things feel forced. But it was one of them things where,
like Wonder Woman 1984.
I haven't seen Wonder Woman 1984.
Okay.
I just don't like when things feel too forced. But at least it wasn't one of them things where in universe they made a big deal out of it. At least not that I remember.
So like, people, I think it was Battlefield 5. People made a huge deal about it being a woman with a woman on the front lines of World War II, because apparently women weren't always on the front line, and she had a robotic appendage, like a metal arm, I think, or either metal arm or a metal leg that was put on. I didn't think that was too bad. Yeah. I don't think for people, some people find offense in that, and they're like, oh my god, no. See, that's the type of things that, if in my opinion at least, if you want to promote a strong woman, promote it like that. Promote it like a woman who's overcoming odds. That's what you see in strong male characters. You don't see strong male characters as just being someone who wins all the time. It'd be a boring ass character to watch. You want to see struggle. You want to see, an almost failing and fighting through adversity. Adversity. This is the same thing like with the Battlefield. I did not see a problem with that. It didn't feel like it was being forced, even if women and and prosthetic arms and limbs and all that, robotic limbs, even if all that wasn't a part of the battlefield of World War II, I didn't feel like it was being forced upon me in that. And it was a perfect way of putting forth breaking the mold of having nothing but strong male characters. I think that did a good job.
Yeah, like when it comes to Battlefield, like the thing is, it felt like people saw a woman and was like, and then they were instantly frothing at the mouth and they're like, oh my god, how dare you put a woman into my video games? It's just like,
those guys are called incels. Those are incels.
Yeah, it's like, video games are made for men. It's like, no, women enjoy video games, and the reason why you don't hear a lot of I do have to agree with John Rapp in the chat, Doctor Who. Yeah, the female doctor was cringe, but it wasn't because it was a female doctor. It was just too many assistants. But yeah, as I was saying, like, they get so frothing at the mouth, and the reason why you don't see a lot of women in gaming, or at least not in gaming communities, is because as soon as a woman appears, all the incels are like, it's a girl, oh my god, she could be my wife, and it's like,
a girl. I know. Like, everybody's scared to have these conversations, man. I wish more people would have them, because that's the only way we grow as a society. I want to see equal rights for everybody. I really, truly do. I want to see equal opportunity. What I don't want to see is substituting quality for feelings. If you're not good enough to do a job, you shouldn't be doing the job. If only black men, for instance, are really successful in the NBA. I don't want to see the NBA, not only black, because majority of successful players that make it to the NBA are black, right? I don't want to see people step in and say, oh, well, hold on, we don't have enough white representation here. Because if we then say, let's get an equal representation of white men in this game, well, that takes away from the sport. I don't want to watch that sport at that point. That part of the allure of the game is seeing all these people doing all these amazing tricks and high flying acrobatic shit. Well, you don't just get that from existing. You get that from being raised in certain social constructs. One of the things in the African American community that's real strong is basketball. It's just something that really strives in their community. And that's fine. Like, I'm all for it. In fact, I'm all for keeping the NBA just the way it is, where the best person gets the contract and gets an opportunity to do the best job, whether it means the majority of the players are black or not, or if the majority of the players are white or not. It doesn't matter, as long as the game is giving itself the best opportunity to win and the best opportunity to provide entertainment, bringing the people back that want to see the sport. As long as that's happening, I don't care what the breakdown is of race, sex, religion, anything like that. I just want to see everybody have that same equal opportunity to succeed.
Yeah, and like there's a lot of people that will there's a lot of people that will see a thing that's dominated by people like them, right? So for example, black people may see a sport that is completely dominated by black people and think, that's who I want to be, right? Whereas if it's if you just have things completely represented equally by race, then the white people will always disproportionately be represented more than any other race, because there are more white people, right?
Right. But hold on. There's a lot of businesses. This was, I can't even think of the name right now. The affirmative action, right? Affirmative action used to place people into positions of job. And I'm all for affirmative action. There was a time and place when it needed to happen. And I think it did good for our society today to have affirmative action when it was, when it was prevalent decades ago. But a lot of the argument, like if you see people arguing these points, they say we want to see fair representation. So a good idea is at university. Okay, they see, I think it's 13% African American in the population. I believe it's that number. They want to see no less than 13% represented in the university. And whether they have to do, and a lot of universities do this, whether they have to go through and make sure that they're accepting enough applicants of, one race or one gender or one religious belief or one sexual preference, whatever the case may be, they will do this to maintain that, to give everybody that opportunity. Not just because, oh, well, look, we have more whites and Asians that are able to make these scores and qualify, so we should just bring them in. No, they want to give the opportunities to the African Americans as well. And I think they should. Yeah. I think there's a socioeconomic problem, and I see ways out of the socioeconomic problem through free education. So I don't think that that's out of whack to ask for that, but to ask for that in every aspect of society, which is what these people tend to do. They want to see it everywhere, except they don't want to see it where it's not beneficial. So they don't want to see it in a professional sport that's dominated by non-whites, because then that would take away from the sport, even though their argument is equal representation.
The problem is that you've got a lot of people that will be like, okay, they'll see things in a really simple way. They'll be like, okay, we've got a problem here where a certain group of people is disproportionately affected by a certain issue. And they'll be like, okay, well, obviously the way to fix this issue is to, help this particular group of people. But whereas I see, well, hold on, we could actually help both black people, white people, and any, Hispanic people, whatnot, we can help them by making things like education free, because that will help everyone, not just a particular group of people.
Right.
And like wealth disparity in America is off the charts, right? So
I agree.
Fixing wealth disparity, I think, is the main thing that you can do to help fix a lot of these issues. If you fix wealth disparity, then you bring everyone closer to an even playing field. And one of the side effects of that is it will help these people that are in that tend to be in lower socioeconomic situations, like black people, like
right. Or there's disproportionate population within a social class, socioeconomic class. For instance, the African American youth. There's only if somebody will check me on these stats, I believe the African American population in America is 13% of the total population. Correct me if I'm wrong, and I'm okay with being wrong on that. But we don't see 13. I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, Advanced Lamb had a really good point in chat. He says, I think affirmative action should be less about race and more about neighborhoods, communities, and socioeconomic status. And that's
exactly.
I fully agree with
back
that.
that 100%. 100%, I'll back that. 100%. Because we are at a point where we should be seeing beyond race, sex, and sexual preference. I'm not saying that it occurs, but we should be beyond that point. We are getting there slowly. Slower for the LGBTQ community than any other community out there. But we are getting there. We are making strides. That's something that we shouldn't take away from ourselves. It can be better. Texas, the state of Texas, you can do better. Okay? Be better. Advance, progress our society, because there's those people, just because they identify as somebody in the LGBTQ community should not be taken away from them that they can be a positive contribution to society. And I don't care your race, religion, sex, or sexual orientation. If you're a positive contribution to society, I back you. I will back you in whatever you do.
Yeah. I do want to see what Kyle Kalinski's next argument is, because I can't remember exactly what he said. So we'll continue on with that because we do have to get through. Been a great chat, though.
So now do you see what's going on here? And by the way, this is not going to stop. So this is the CIA's doing it, the FBI's going to do it, the Democratic Party has been doing it for the longest time. I'm not for Medicare for all. I'm not for free college. I'm not for a living wage. I'm not for ending the wars. I'm not for ending the drug war and freeing the nonviolent drug offenders. I'm not for any of the actual policies that are important and would fix the country and make everything better. But I will say the word intersectional. And I will give you my pronouns in my bio. And I will create an identity around my generalized anxiety disorder and make you feel like I'm relatable. I will, say I'm on the LGBTQ spectrum, or I'm cisgender, or, I believe in diversity, and I have people of color in my family, or I'm a person of color. They will give you everything when it comes to labels, social issues. And by the way, it's hilarious that the CIA is doing the Democratic Party trick. I believe in diversity. I'm strong, I'm proud. I'm a daughter of immigrants. I'm a woman of color. I'm perfectly made. I'm proud of me. I'm a cisgender millennial. I have generalized anxiety disorder. I'm intersectional. I despise the patriarchy. And by the way, my main job is going to be to press the button on the drones that blows up innocent people overseas.
Okay, so that wasn't as bad as I remember it being, but there is... I don't think...
He's still a moron. He's a moron.
Yeah, he is a moron. When it comes to the idea, of... firstly, didn't this guy... didn't he just refuse to vote for Biden because he hates the Democratic Party? Or because they didn't get Bernie in? Wasn't he a, Bernie or Buster guy?
This guy, I have no idea. I am completely ignorant to who he is.
Let me see.
This is just my first. Is he a conservative? Is he a liberal, or is he a centrist?
He's a lefty, but he's one of these. I think he was. I think
because it kind of sounded like he was dogging on the left a little bit right there. To be honest with you.
Yeah, it seems that. It seems that Kyle Kalinske. Oh yeah, there's a video here that says Kyle Kalinske endorses voting for Trump because he is a Bernie or Buster. Jesus, it's one of them things where a lot of these people, they don't realize that, in American politics, you got a shit party, and then you got a less shit party. The shit party, in my opinion, is the Republicans. The less shit party is the Democrats. Right? And
yeah.
And then you've also got minor parties that don't have a chance because of the way that American politics works. Essentially, when it comes to it, you shouldn't be voting for the shit party because you don't like something that the less shit party does. What you do is you vote for the less shit party, right? In the hope that you move the shit party over to your position.
But politics is a little different. Politics is a bit different because you're not, for this guy, let's say, he might have seen Bernie Sanders as the number one above all, ready to move into the socialist market and back him 100%. And he sees Biden as a problem, and then sees Trump as less of a problem. Right. And I'm not saying that's the way it is. I'm saying that this might be the way this guy sees it. So in his mind, when speaking politics, and of course, this is why I don't do politics, because there's always a bad take no matter what you say. This guy he's wrong. He should just vote. I wouldn't vote. I wouldn't vote on the president if it came down to voting between the lesser of two evils. If I know both men are going to be evil, I just don't vote. And that's just, I don't know if that's responsible or irresponsible of me, but at the same time, I'm not political. I'm apolitical, so don't give a shit.
Well, I think that it's one of them things where when you got a person who is as bad as Trump, you know, who stuffed up the coronavirus response. It's like,
yeah,
you need to get that person out of power.
Disbanded the pandemic fucking team that was put together right before a pandemic hit. Yeah, good job, Trump. Way to go, guy.
Yeah, like Biden. Sure, Biden is shit. You can criticize Biden for not I have my own criticisms of Biden. Like, I do not like the way that he's handling this whole Israel thing. Hold on, I haven't got it scheduled for Russia's Stupid, but have you seen his dog shit response to the dog shit response of the White House to Israel? Let me go onto Twitter.
No.
It was horrible. Like,
I've seen some shit on Reddit that's just really bad. Makes Israel look so bad.
Yeah, White House. Israel. There we go. Let me.
Well, I just hope when they all start fighting, America stays out of it. Let Israel defend themselves. They'll be all right. If Palestine's meant to win, Palestine's gonna win.
Yeah,
but it's not America's business.
So this, you can absolutely, I think you should criticize Biden for this. Like, today the president spoke with Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu. I don't know how to pronounce that. Reaffirmed his strong support for Israel's right to defend itself against rocket attacks from Hamas and other terrorist groups in Gaza, and condemned these indiscriminate attacks against Israel.
Yeah, I guess he's okay with the coordinated attacks against the children of Palestine. I mean, like, this is going on. These people, I can understand Israel's an ally of the United States, and you know, the U.S. is obligated politically to do certain things like back their political allies, but to just act as if fucking atrocities aren't, to call out the atrocities of one side and to not address the atrocities of the other side is extremely disingenuous. And it doesn't matter what political party he is. That's extremely disingenuous of him. All he has to do is open up Reddit. He can go and see what's going on in Myanmar. He can see what's going on over in fucking Israel and Palestine. Their front page, every day there's videos being posted of these atrocities that are going on, and nobody cares. Nobody cares. Not, and especially, how can you expect me as a citizen of the United States to care, or just your average citizen to care, when the president himself won't even fucking acknowledge the atrocities?
Yeah, like, I think that Biden, like, I say a big fuck you to Biden for this. Now, as I've said, Biden has done good things. Like, he's recognized the Armenian genocide. That is a good thing. He has withdrawn support for the Saudis bombing Yemen. That is a good thing. But this here is a bad thing, right? You know, it's one of them things where, now, here is the question. Would have Trump been any different? Probably not. Like, he probably would have also been like, yeah, Israel is, we're still going to support Israel. Now, I can't say for certain.
I would say I'm not going to say that he would be saying opposite to what Biden is saying right here, but I think he would have a different approach as to what he was going to say. He probably still would support Israel. I just don't know that he would have the same take as Biden does. Just because they have different motivations in the way they think. Trump thinks more in terms of financials. Yeah, or Trump. You know, I'm not saying he's a good financial advisor or anybody should listen to him or anything like that. But I think he just thinks through different ways, because he handled, like, when you ask how Biden and how Trump are going to handle China, they're both going to end up handling China over their first term very differently from one another. So I believe the same thing would probably happen. But America has historically been an ally of Israel. So I don't think that Trump would go and say something completely different from what Biden's saying. But I think he would have his own unique take on it. He would find a way to fuck everything up, to shit on the fucking plate right before he ate it.
Yeah, and then the media would talk far more about how Trump did a bad than how Biden's doing a bad. You know?
I'm sorry. I didn't catch that last part.
The media would talk a lot about how Trump is doing a bad rather than how Biden's doing a bad, you know?
Yeah, the media can eat shit. The media is a little upset right now that YouTube commentators like yourself, myself, other people exist, and we're taking their viewers more and more every day by giving a platform that's much easier to access by the average person, and they won't let go of their old school ways. They might adapt a little bit, but they still maintain to hold their old school ways, and I think it's going to be the downfall of mainstream news.
Yeah, well,
which they're not really news anymore. They're all gossip.
To be fair, the Australian government has passed legislation to try and kill, to basically try and kill independent creators on YouTube and hand it all to News Corp in particular. What they did is they passed.
Hey, planer. I have to take a Riley real quick. Can I excuse myself and I'll be right back, please?
Okay. Yeah, I'll just explain.
I'm sorry. I'll be right back.
I'll just explain what I mean. Essentially, so the Australian government passed legislation that essentially makes it so that Google has to tell News Corp when they make changes to the algorithm. All media companies, when they make changes to the algorithm. Google doesn't really tell anyone what changes they make. Apart from, now they've got to tell news agencies. Why? Because news agencies were upset that they were losing ad revenue to YouTube. Facebook essentially decided... they also had to pay, settle a certain amount as well. Facebook decided to say, well, okay, in that case, we're just not going to allow Australian news on our site. And it was like, if you want to play that game, we're going to stop your news being on our site. Bye. And... yes, that will probably hit Facebook, but I mean, it's one of them things where at least Facebook decided, okay, this is bullshit. We shouldn't have this level of, just because someone posts they had to pay every time a person posts a link, and so Facebook decided we're not going to pay.
All right, I'm back.
So yeah, it's. Anyway, we'll go on to the next thing. There's... Okay. So, there's Asian conservative voice that says, "Look around, bud. You know someone personally who died of COVID?" And one person responded with, "I've lost 3 friends to your quote-unquote hoax. Get over yourself, Asian conservative voice." And an Asian conservative voice says, "I lost 3 friends from car accidents. What's your point?"
Yeah, again, bad take.
It's like, okay, so are you trying to say that car accidents are fake too? What are you trying to even argue here? It's like, yes.
Well, this is the absolutely ignorant takes that the anti-mask, anti-COVID crowd, completely conservative. They'd rather just put it all in God's hands and pray the virus away, which isn't going to happen. So I don't know why they would consider that. Asian conservative voice obviously is a piece of shit, and I feel comfortable even saying that because I know someone who's personally died of COVID, a relative of mine. So yeah, fuck off.
Yeah, I personally don't know anyone that has died from COVID, but the reason for that is because my country didn't really fuck up the response to COVID. I mean, there were a few fuck ups, but they didn't fuck it up as bad as other countries. We only had 20, 25 people die here from COVID, somewhere in that.
It's nuts.
Yeah.
But hey, we live in the freest society in the world in America. We're so free. We can choose our own path in life. If we choose to believe that the virus is not real, then God willing, the virus is not real. Even if somebody dies from the virus, well, that was just God's will handing over another soul on his way to heaven. Eat shit.
So this here, this next one here shows how disconnected people are. It says, Gwyneth Paltrow broke down and ate bread during quarantine. What was your lowest point? It's like, I ate bread during quarantine. I ate bread out of quarantine. Holy shit!
Shit. I broke down when my uncle died. That was my lowest point. Fuck you. You know?
Yeah, it's like, how are you so disconnected from people? Like, bread is awesome. Like, I brought a loaf of bread yesterday. Yesterday, I brought a loaf of bread. Like, how are you so disconnected from the common people? That's why. They're not part of the common people. That's why they're so disconnected.
Was that trolling her? Or was that actually, like, talking about her struggle? I would love to know.
I'd love to know as well. Like, it might just be like a troll. Like, hold on. Let's see. That's where the Gwyneth
Heat Shield says my Texas accent is fake.
Paltrow.
So mean.
Bread. Quarantine. All right. Here's the article.
Hold up. Let's see it.
So, it says here, in the latest celebrity attempt to prove they had it just as hard as normal people in the pandemic, Gwyneth Paltrow has admitted she was driven to extremes during quarantine. Things got dark. She admitted
gotta be a joke.
to drinking as many as 2 cocktails a night during lockdown. And based whiskey cocktails, of course. And even sometimes eating bread and pasta. Shock horror.
Jeez.
Oh. What?
I'm the alpha. Go back. No, you read the last paragraph. My lowest point this pandemic was when, at the end of my tether, I yelled, "I'm the alpha!" at my 4-month-old puppy, proving to us both I clearly wasn't. Or maybe that time I thought I could get him to stop humping me by doing it right back at him. Spoiler alert, doesn't fucking work.
Yeah, like, that is far more relatable than whatever the fuck this is. You know, eating bread. Like, here's the thing. During the pandemic, during lockdown, should I say, essentially I was living off I had like a whole lot of cans of baked beans, and I think I had some bread that I'd frozen. I also what I'd do is I was like, okay, I have rice here. I'll put rice into a pot and cook the rice up. Add Korean chili paste. And also add garlic. The garlic was what made it actually taste really nice as well. Like the garlic.
How about... Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were done. Go ahead.
Oh no, I was done.
I've eaten garlic whole, so I like garlic.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would say my low point was when we had the winter storm hit, and there were 6 days with no electricity, and then about 17 days after that with no water. Or no, it wasn't after that. My water stopped working midway through the freeze. So it would be about 12 or 13 days, I think, that I went without water.
Yeah.
That was my low point. I guarantee you Gwyneth Paltrow never had that. Yeah. And I want one of her vagina candles.
I didn't have it bad during the lockdown, I'll admit. Like I was perfectly at home, pun intended. You know, like do you think I ever leave my room? I live in my room.
I'll admit, like, I miss my social interactions. It's been about 18 months since I've been like as social as I was before the pandemic. I took it seriously, at least, you know. There's a lot of people around me that didn't, and I did. And it really did. It's taken a toll on me, physically and emotionally. So I just want this to end. I wish people would have worn masks from the beginning, helped us get through the rough stages early, so we could have, you know, been back to whatever we're going to consider normal, which it looks like, you know, all these people that were complaining, oh no, not the new normal. Looks like they're going to have their way anyway. They were just bitching and moaning about nothing and causing fucking people to spread the disease more. It's also evident if you look at the numbers in America versus the numbers in other countries. Even per capita, we dominate.
Yeah. Well,
except for maybe India and Brazil now, but for the longest time we dominated it.
Yeah, America always trying to be number one.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things is that, like, I actually miss the quarantine because, like, now in the quarantine, people left me alone.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't have to interact with people. I do actually have friends, but, like, it is one of them.
I'm going to need a citation on that.
So you're not my friend? Bugger.
Wait, did you mistake all those nudes I sent you as an invitation to be my friend? No, that was not.
Like, I thought that was an invitation to like I thought you were wanting like nudes back, and I'm like, I was hesitant, but you know, we eventually got round to it. And I thought, fuck, are we in a relationship now?
Damn, let me check my calendar and see if I can handle another one of you.
Anyway,
you got the haircut that most of my girls have.
Yeah, like I am getting. It is starting to grow out a bit. It's like, you know, so and like
about as much facial hair as they have together too.
I'll put on like a maid dress and some cat ears, and we'll see how it goes.
Do it right, meow.
I don't have a maid outfit right now. I do know someone that like.
I said meow. You said a cat outfit. I said do it right, meow.
Oh, okay. Well, I actually was talking with someone, and I don't know where the conversation was going, but like the conversation eventually got onto the topic of cat girls, right? And I was like, you know, I want to become a cat girl, and like they were like, they said that they had a maid outfit, cat ears, and makeup, and I'm like, let's fucking do this. I don't know when it's gonna happen, but I'll make sure to post a picture, like either to YouTube or to Twitter, maybe both, and basically be like, look at how fabulous I am. I am going to, like, if the offer is still on the table, I am going to do it. Anyway.
I'm sorry, I'm reading the chat. John Rapp says, word is, team loved wearing masks long before the pandemic. Only difference is the ball gag part.
So, this is someone who decided to wear this.
John Rapp, Plainer Walk's not old enough to get the joke. I'm sorry, we forgot. We were talking to minors here.
Hold on. I'd like to make a bet. Like, if I'm going to say to conspiracy cats, if I dress up as a cat girl, I want conspiracy cats to also dress up as a cat girl. I'd love to just see conspiracy cats as a cat girl. That'd be hilarious. But anyway, this guy here has a shirt that says, "I'm a dad that runs on Jesus Cornhole."
Sounds about right.
Yeah, like I get the feeling that he's like a conservative, or one of these, the part of the Christian right? And he's trying to say, I run on Jesus, you cornhole, but it's like...
Yeah, there's like a missing comma.
Yeah. But it's like, I'm a dad that runs on Jesus cornhole, and it's like... That doesn't sound too bad. Like...
No, it doesn't. I want to try some Jesus cornhole out.
So, I do like this meme, though. I'm fluent in over 6 million forms of communication. What the fuck did you just say? Okay, so now we're getting into some more bad COVID takes. Copy link.
I'm gonna go grab a drink. I'll be right back. I'll grab a drink.
Okay. So there's this meme that I saw on Facebook, because I lurk in some conspiracy communities on Facebook for these memes, right? Where this meme was posted where it says, "Search continues for the 2 missing viruses that have suddenly disappeared after hundreds of years." And it says, "Missing. Have you seen the flu and the cold?" And it's like, well, there's a reason why cases of the flu and the cold are lower. And the reason is because they're just not as... Like, people wore masks and stayed at home. Like, I would love to see what happens, like, if we actually had a global lockdown, right? All at the same time for, like, 2 months. How many viruses do you think would actually just disappear after, like, if we had a proper lockdown where, like, no one was allowed to interact with anyone? There's... If everyone's food...
Are you saying a hypothetical 100% lockdown? Let's say, hypothetically speaking, we spread every human out 6 feet apart from every other human, put them in a self-contained bubble, and keep them there for 6 months. Would that stop? Would that kill off a virus?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Like,
good question.
I do know that there are some viruses that come mostly from animals. I think the flu might come mostly from animals. I'm not sure about that. But, like, it would be interesting to see what happens.
Well, humans are animals.
Yeah, but I mean, like, cows and stuff.
I'm not 100% sure on that. I don't know if humans catch colds from cows.
Yeah, apparently... Well, I'm not talking about the cold. I'm mostly talking about the flu here. But, like, if we were to... spread every human out, 6 feet, and we'd probably be able to kill off a lot of viruses that travel from human to human, or at least make it so that they don't re-emerge at large for a long time,
Yeah, but then you have what's called a... hyperimmune response is what you would have. I think that's what the medical terminology is. So you know how, like, when Karen say, "I want my children to be exposed to the bacteria on the playground. I want so that they can build immunity to it." That's not how that works, Karen. The reason why it's good to be exposed to a little bit of viruses and bacteria in your daily routine is because it uses up a lot of the resources that you have for your immune system. And what that doesn't end up doing is allow you to build up such a strong immune system that when you do get infected with something, you have a hyperimmune response to it, which is what can hurt you. That's typically what hurts you is the immune response to the virus being in your body. It's not the virus itself that kills you. it's the response or the lack of response, like with HIV, where it really does a number on the immune system, and the immune system drops down to a point where it can't defend the human body. But there's two extremes to that, and neither one of them are good. That's why, Karen, you let your kids play on the playground. But just so you know, Karen, there's virus all over your house and bacteria is all over your house. So as long as your kids are getting a healthy dose of being awake and experiencing the kitchen, taking a shit on the toilet seats, they'll be just fine.
Yeah. I'm going to summon Jason right now and say that when it comes to... maybe it's a good idea that you're exposed to the... what is it? The parasitic worms. I just said that to summon Jason. I know he's going to show up, and he's probably going to show up in like 2 minutes and basically say, "Did you just talk about the parasitic worms?" And have his old diatribe.
The adrenochrome slugs.
Yeah, something like that. And then he's going to call me a hypocrite.
And mad cow disease, I think you have to actually, for that to be transmitted to humans, I think they have to eat the meat, don't they? It's not just direct contact with the cow.
Possibly. I'm not 100% sure on...
I'm not 100% sure on that either. Mm. But I thought that with for mad cow disease to affect humans, they had to eat beef that was infected with the mad cow disease.
Yeah.
Not 100% sure.
I think so.
Somebody can look that up.
Yeah, we've got chat here. Like, that's the great thing about. Oh yeah, someone says you do not. You do have to eat it. Team Skeptic, because it's not from contact. So yeah.
So but you were talking about when you said pass from animals. You're not saying pass from animals through ingestion. You're saying pass through animals through contact, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
I'm not sure if any cold or influenza do we get from an animal via contact.
Yeah, well, we do have chat here too.
Except other humans of the animals. See, the flu travels from the northern to the southern hemisphere and does that through our travel, through air travel, because we're very convenient. We have very convenient travel now. And you'll have people that leave the northern hemisphere as it's going into winter and take vacations in the southern hemisphere, thus contracting whatever diseases are there from the winter in the southern hemisphere as it begins to go into the summer. So then when they come home, they're becoming additional vectors for the virus to continue to reproduce. Once a virus is in a population, it's really hard to get it out.
Yeah.
Except through like vaccination.
Oh yeah, one person just mentioned bird flu and swine flu, so yeah. So those are the particular things that...
Yeah, but I don't think that I'm saying I don't think that that's like a common influenza now, is it? The cold and influenza doesn't really come from animal contact now. The common cold and influenza is passed from human to human. At least as I thought. I'm not a biologist or a microbiologist.
Yeah, like it seems that...
Or a virologist.
If there is certain flus that have gotten prevalent, such as bird flu, swine flu, and that likes of that, then it's not unreasonable to think that a number of viruses like the flu will have variants within animal populations that humans can catch.
Right. Yeah, usually I think it's in the binding receptors. They'll get a mutation in the binding receptor and it will be passed on. And I think that when you have like a strong viral load, I think that's what happens a lot in what is it called when viruses jump from animal to the animal and human population? I can't think of the term for it now, but it's usually a mutation in the binding receptor that allows it to then fit the lock of the human cell and be able to be absorbed. Otherwise, it just can't be absorbed. It's completely useless. Can't pass on its viral load and reproduce within the body. So,
yeah. Anyway, on to the next thing, because we've got to get through... We don't have much to get through today. But we've got this... I don't know who Jim Jordan is, right?
Well, this guy's a moron.
But he says, fund the police and the military. Defund the teachers' unions and Dr. Fauci. Like, firstly, the hate boner that some people have for Dr. Fauci is just, like, incredible, right? Like
interspeciation. Good job, Daryl Frost. Thank you very much.
You know, they just hate Dr. Fauci because he was saying that this needs to be our response to coronavirus, or America's response to coronavirus, or something. I don't know.
I'll tell you, Fauci's been, I can see why people don't want to trust him. He's been, he's had some contradicting statements through this. Of course, in a pandemic, you're learning and taking in new data and refining your statements all the time. So I can see where people have lost some faith in Dr. Fauci, especially at the civilian level, where you don't really know what's going on in the medical world, or in the virus world, and that where they're creating viruses and trying to find everything they can out about stuff. And this happens. There's virology labs, so we're very ignorant to that, where he might be a little bit more a little bit more in tune with the newest information coming out, and some of the things he says would be contradicting what he said in the past, and then in the future he might say something that contradicts him today. So it's really easy, but they just don't understand the process of science, of attaining new data and coming to new conclusions. If they don't do that, if we only went with the first conclusion they came to and didn't accept the rest of the data moving forward, then we'd put ourselves at an extreme disadvantage. Yeah. As far as this comment goes, I'm all for funding the police. Absolutely. I don't think we need a militarized police force. I think we need a better trained and better educated police force. That takes funding.
I think we need I was just going to say, I think we need a better regulated police force. I think that the police need to be held more to account than what they are. Now, I do think that the trial that recently happened, I can't remember the name of I know the name of George Floyd, but I can't remember the name of the officer.
Chauvin, or no, not Chauvin. It wasn't Chauvin. Was it Chauvin? I believe it was
Derek Chauvin. I think it was.
Was that it? Was it Derek Chauvin that his name? I briefly saw it. I saw he got convicted.
Yeah. I think,
and he should have. I mean, what he did was inhumane. I don't think that police officers should get a pass for being inhumane. Look at the cop who killed the guy in the hotel hallway in Arizona. Piece of shit human being right there. Does not deserve to be in any position of power. Does it really? Honestly, that guy deserves to be serving a life sentence in prison with no chance of parole. There's no way you're going to convince me. The guy has an AR-15 aimed down sight on a guy crawling on his knees, begging not to be killed. You've got an AR-15 that says you're fucked on it, and you kill the guy for no reason and get away with it. Fuck that guy. That guy deserves to be in prison for the rest of his life. If there's people who are in prison for the rest of their life for lesser things than that, for things that didn't even involve murder, dismemberment, or bodily harm to people, and they're spending life sentences in prison. The 3 strikes rule, go look it up in California, and this guy's walking free like it's no big fucking deal after he just murdered somebody. Fuck that guy. Now, the teachers union... Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think that we should also not use the police for every situation. If there's a situation, or in America at least, I don't know how it is. I don't think it's like that around the rest of the world, especially not in New Zealand. But if someone needs help, right, and I don't think that the police is necessarily the right. I don't think they're necessarily the right people for every single instance. Like, someone needs mental help, then you need proper...
Yeah, they tried that, and a mental health worker got killed, I believe, in Seattle, where they said, you know what, let's not send police to these people that are having mental breakdowns that might not be able to react to things like consciously, might not understand exactly where they're in. Well, that doesn't really help the social worker when you send them out to a dangerous situation. Cops need to be better educated. Cops need to be better trained, and cops need to be trained for dealing with that specifically. Trying to send a social worker who's untrained in these things is not beneficial to society. It might be beneficial under certain circumstances, but general cases, it's not going to be beneficial to send a fucking social worker out to someone who's having a mental breakdown. Send a social worker with a police officer. I'm all for that, so that there can be some way of talking, because police officers don't know how to handle that properly all the time.
Yeah.
They should be trained for that, because they're the ones that we rely on to handle these situations. So we should train them to be better equipped in dealing with people who's having, you know, an emotionally stressful event going on in their life. But I think outright saying, nope, don't send the police to mental health things, send out a social worker, that's going to end up a lot worse than people think. It'd be a great thing to try for like 6 months until so many people die and people are saying, why are we sending these social workers to their death?
Well, yeah, I think that it would be one of them things where we need to send the right people, like maybe a social worker and a police officer, and so that it's not one of them things where it's immediately people pulling guns out and shooting each other, or that's why you have the social worker there, so that they can try and de-escalate any situation, and then the police officer there just in case things go wrong.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's just, you know, we're all talking hypotheticals here because we don't have an actual a system in place that really does justice to the people that are suffering. You know, I just, to me, it's you can't take away the police. You have to have someone there to enforce a certain set of standards.
Oh, yeah.
So that we all follow along in the right way. I think that if you took, somebody brought it up, the military spending in the United States, 1% of that would fund every college age kid going to college. 1% of that would take care of all medical that the American population needed. You know, I mean, there are these numbers that are so big in the military industrial complex that 1% could probably help all the rest of these options here. We as a military, I understand we have to establish dominance. We have to be the world leaders, the world peace holder. And I don't agree that we always do that, but I understand why they feel the need that they should spend this money. But taking away something so small as that, you could do wonders in the science community. You could do wonders for the teachers. You could do wonders for the CDC in helping prevent things like the next pandemic that's going to come. Because guys, this is only our real first pandemic where we forget the idea that pandemics happened before. They didn't happen before with the internet. They didn't happen before with the ability to communicate and send information and data immediately. We are growing as a society. We are filling up spaces. We're getting closer and closer together. Pandemics are going to happen.
Yeah.
This was just the first one in our modern era that really took the world by storm. If we continue in the ways of growing in population the way we do, and I'm not the depopulate the earth guy, but as long as we continue to grow in that way, as long as we continue to condense populations in small, you know, very non-aggregate ways where it's all in one, like New York City, all it takes is one disease. One disease will then begin to spread through the population, and before we know it, it's already on an airplane headed to another country.
Yeah, I think that like funding things like obviously we need to learn from coronavirus. If like those who don't learn from history are doomed to repeat it, right? So
yeah,
we're gonna have to learn from coronavirus. Maybe we should learn from New Zealand.
No, I'd rather learn from South Korea. South Korea did a hell of a job.
Oh yeah,
I don't know what's the. Hold on. Let's see what the. I'm going to look at the numbers real quick. I want to see this. Yeah. I want to see what the per capita is on infections because New Zealand was really good. Yeah. So I want to see what it is. New Zealand versus South Korea.
Yeah, I do think that there are, as I said, there are definitely things that New Zealand did wrong. Like our response wasn't perfect. And I don't think that there can be a perfect response to a pandemic. However, I think that the New Zealand response was better than other responses, and the New Zealand economy, because people love to talk about the economy, the New Zealand economy isn't actually doing too badly.
Neither would it. Really, we did have a little bit of a shutdown for a small portion of time. But the thing is that the economy in the majority of the United States did not shut down. These people are saying shut down because they refuse to wear a mask and go into their favorite places because their favorite places required them to wear a mask. If anybody's responsible for shutting the economy down, it was the American public and their decision to fight against the mask mandates. Whether you believe in masks or not, you should have just put them on. There's a higher understanding there that you as a civilian do not know and understand, and there are people that we rely on to give us the correct information and guide us in the right direction. If we would never look at if we took the pandemic away and we said forget the word pandemic, forget the word COVID and coronavirus. Let's say broken arm. Do you trust your doctor to fix your broken arm, or do you go and look on the internet on Facebook and say, hey, what should I do about my broken arm? It's like bent and it makes a 90-degree angle. And then you got 50 fucking armchair doctors telling you, oh man, throw some fucking flaxseed oil on it. That's the type of shit that would be happening if that was the case. We don't rely on that. Why would you all of a sudden think that you're some kind of expert in virology when you're so classically and will admit that you are not an expert in osteotherapy or whatever the science is behind
using the broken arm example, right? Let's say I break my arm. There is going to be a few things that I can't do, right? Because I've broken it. Now, I can go to a doctor and they're probably going to put a cast around it. I'm going to have, if I have a cast on my arm, especially if the cast, let's say it's a broken wrist, right? Because then that's going to affect my fingers, which is going to stop me from doing quite a bit. Now, if I put a cast on it...
For yourself. I'm sorry. Fingers in the butt.
Yeah, especially if it's the my
Those little lady fingers right there playing are awfully sexy to a man like me.
But anyway, like if I get a cast on it, I'm going to not be able to use my hand to its full extent for a while, right?
Yeah.
Now the thing is, I could say, well, I might be like, okay, well, I don't want a cast on it then, because if I get a cast, I'm not going to be able to use my hand to its full extent. And so I want to be able to use my hand even though I have a broken wrist. And it's like, how I could say, how bad could a broken wrist be? And it's like, well, if I continue, I don't know what the effects are, but it may be that I end up getting long-term injury to my hand or to my wrist because I overuse it, right? And even though it may not seem like that big of a deal at the time, it's like, well, later on down the line, it's going to be a far bigger deal, and I might even have to have a cast anyway. So I might as well, have a cast on it for 6 weeks rather than having like maybe a year worth of issues with my wrist. And that is.
And I want to say, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was just going to say that is basically what anti-maskers are acting like. They're acting like the person that they know their wrist is broken. However, they're just like, I don't need a cast. It'll be fine.
Yeah. Garth Dryland says we can't get many building products, and what we can get costs heaps more. Planar walk, just one example, and that is a good point. When a worldwide pandemic happens, we are going to suffer as a population. The idea is to minimize that suffering. So whether the minimalization happens from working from home instead of at an office where you're in a populated environment versus where you're spread out and you're working from home. And there's studies to suggest that even that's had a negative impact on our economy. But or whether it's that has to happen temporarily, or manufacturing has to be shut down temporarily due to a pandemic. we wouldn't say anything about it if there was, nobody would question if there was, let's say, a building was encased in gas fumes that were toxic. We wouldn't say, well, you know what, we need products, you guys need to go in there and work anyway. We would actually look back and say, well, maybe it's best that we, give it some time to clear out and then send the workers back in when it's safe. That would probably, reduce the amount of product going out, especially if it's a product that's being used by another industry. We're seeing that right now in the silicone industry, especially real hard in the silicone industry. Car manufacturers are having a hard time getting silicone for the cars to create the computers that are needed in today's cars. Graphics cards for computers, hard to find. A lot of that has to do with the miners, but a lot of it also has to do with a silicone shortage that's worldwide. A lot of the things that I'm trying to buy now, like would normally have a 2 to 3 week wait period, have 8 to 12 or 12 to 20 weeks of wait period. So I understand where Garth's coming from. He does make a good point, but that's a consequence of the pandemic, in my opinion, and not the human condition.
Yeah.
The human condition is making it worse because we feel like we have the right to do what we want and when we want, regardless of how it affects other people due to political or religious ideology.
By the way, I just want to say that the next couple of things, especially this next one, are incredibly stupid. You want to get your facepalm protection ready. Like, it is incredibly because we've got Neil deGrasse Tyson, right? Neil deGrasse Tyson, good dude. So Neil deGrasse Tyson says, if you are refusing to get vaccinated against COVID-19, maybe it's because you're getting your medical advice from news pundits, fearmongers, conspiracy theorists, and other deeply misinformed people rather than from medical professionals.
Completely agree.
Right? So then this person responds with, I got medical advice from history. How is there wrong there? No vaccine for AIDS, etc., but we created a vaccine for this in less than 2 years. Now, just to respond to that point, I want to say, like, AIDS vaccines, we've actually got a vaccine for AIDS, right? That has recently been tested. Whether it's effective or not will be another question. It's incredibly difficult to make a vaccine for AIDS, though. It's much easier to make a vaccine for something like polio, because, we did manage to create a vaccine for polio and almost eradicate polio. When it comes to...
okay, I'm sorry. I was going to say, we had about... I think I just looked at the numbers. I think there was almost 100 million cases of coronavirus, maybe even a little bit more, in the year 2020. That was the first year of existence. Last year, across the world, there were 38 million people approximately that had HIV. The viral load for HIV, and this is a disease that existed generations in advance. So in 2018, there were already people that had it that were counted with the 2019 numbers. For the coronavirus in 2020, there was not a single person that was counted as having it. Well, maybe there might have been one or two at the very end of 2019, but there were only a few people in 2019 that were counted in the number for 2020. So this is how rapid the virus grew within our population. This also speaks volume as to the viral load within the population and giving us the ability to go through and create a vaccine. I think I was listening to a doctor talk about it, and he's talking about never have we had this much of a viral load into the population when trying to develop a vaccine for that viral load. That also goes against when people say this is an untested vaccine. Incorrect. This is one of the most heavily scrutinized and tested vaccines, and the only reason we were able to heavily scrutinize and test it is because of the viral load in the population. I mean, there's so many reasons why that statement makes no fucking sense, and they were able to find find vaccines for the coronavirus. Not to mention, very good point that you made, the virus for the vaccine for coronavirus for this COVID-19. COVID-19 being a coronavirus is much more easily understood than something like HIV, which is not a coronavirus. It's a different type of virus altogether. But you don't sneeze on somebody and give them HIV, you know?
But you've also, one of the things you also have to consider is that when it comes to the vaccine for coronavirus, the technology has been in the works for decades, right? The technology, we've been working on it. It's just been that we haven't had, and I think it was just during the pandemic that it really reached its peak. And it's like, okay, we've got this technology that is now able to, I think it's the mRNA technology has been worked on for ages, and they're like, okay, well, we've now got a reason to use this, and it's also rather inconvenient to have to use it now because of the simple fact is that like the Pfizer vaccines need to be stored at negative 70 degrees. I think that's Celsius. I'm not sure if that's Fahrenheit or Celsius, but negative 70 degrees in either case is pretty low. So
John Rapp has a question for you. He says, more important and relevant question, especially here. Is there a cure for fumble thumb?
What's that?
If you don't know what fumble thumb is, then you can't afford it, buddy.
Yeah, I probably can't afford it. I can't afford much. That's why it's always there's a link. That's why there's a join button on my channel to keep members, or to go to Patreon. Either way.
And also Garth Dryland, I want to keep bringing it up. He's making great points. These SARS vaccines have been worked on for decades. In fact, since the several SARS infections, like these types of viruses, are not new to us. We may have to change things. We may have to do a little bit more science. It might take some time to perfect things, but this is nothing new to us. Yeah. We've been doing this for decades.
Yeah. It's just that when, people will often say, it's just, people will often say, well, then how can you say we don't know much about it? It's like, we don't know much about the specific viruses, but the virus group as a whole, should we say, we do know more about. But yeah, but the thing here is this isn't the stupidest part. The next part is this is the facepalm protection thing, saying, yeah, I'll get the COVID vaccine when they start making a cancer vaccine.
Oh my God, he did not fucking say that.
They did say that.
That guy needs to go eat whale penis. Okay? I think it's whales. Whales don't. I'm pretty sure it's whales that don't get cancer. But it's either they don't get cancer or it doesn't affect them because of their body mass. Because the cells don't actually get much bigger. So when a cell goes into cancer, it's still such a small portion of its body mass that I believe their body is able to fight off the cancer. So you don't typically find cancer in whales. I think that's the animal group that's out there that doesn't really get it. But there's no such thing as a cancer vaccine because vaccines wouldn't stop cancer. That's why. You can't stop a fucking cell from becoming cancerous.
Yeah.
With a shot.
Yeah, it's one of the things where you might be able to train the body to recognize specific cancers, but you're never going to there's always ways in which the cancer can mutate so that it can be hidden from the body. There's always going to be that. In fact, there is technically a vaccine to reduce the risk of cancer, which I have gotten all 3 shots of, and that is the HPV vaccine. I've had all 3 shots of that. Now, whilst all you anti-vaxxers are running around and unvaccinated and getting cancer because you got HPV, I'm going to be living happily and not getting HPV because I've got the vaccine. But like,
so there's hold on. I want to. Daryl Frost says there are vaccines for cancers. Yes, there are cancer treatments that are vaccines, but I don't believe there's any vaccine that prevents cancer from occurring in someone in the future. I could be wrong about it. Again, I'm not a microbiologist or anything, but I'm pretty sure that the cancer for the treatments is based on if you're treating cancer that's already there, not pre-treating cancer, like getting a vaccine for smallpox as a child, preventing the child from having smallpox moving forward.
Yeah.
Or reducing the risk, I guess, of a child having smallpox moving forward. You can correct me if I'm wrong, Daryl. I could be wrong, but I just think that I think I'm right, but I could be wrong. So I'll leave it at that.
Yeah. But we've got more. Like, this is the last thing for the episode. So we've got this here where one person says, Neil, can't I just say no to all this forcing mRNA vaccines into my body and take my chances with the COVID-19 flu bug? Does this now make me crazy? Yes, it makes you crazy. That's what I want to do. I'm young, healthy, and would prefer banking on my immune system. Is that really such a terrible option? And then one person responded with, incoming, it's not about you. We're in this together, crowd. Oh shit, they're onto us. Shit, they're onto us. It's not about you. We're in this. But like, yeah, we are in this together. Like,
that's just a bad take. That's like saying, but I own a gun, and I like playing with my guns. Should I not be allowed to just go to a daycare and show the kids how I can spin the gun on my finger? And hey, if I get shot, that's just something I'm willing to risk. But yeah, but what if you shoot the other kids? What if that kid goes home and tries to recreate what you did, with a weapon at the house? There's consequences to your actions that even if you don't know about it, you might be fine, but you don't know that you're going to take that out and that you're going to be infected and go, hey, I have, 99 out of 100 times I'm going to live. So I'm just going to go out because, hey, I if I die, if it's my day to have my 1 in 100 card pulled and I die from this, then that's just what the plans are. But what they don't consider is the other people that they're perpetuating the spread of the virus to, because then they give it to somebody who's unsuspecting, and then they pass it on to another person, and that person's unsuspecting. And there's always a delay behind these things. There's always, you catch it, and then you begin to feel sick before you notice that you're sick. And all that time where the virus has been reproducing in you and spreading out to other places, you didn't know that you were infected. In fact, you could be completely asymptomatic and still be spreading the virus. These are not the virus, but viruses in general. So this is just a bad take by people. You should never hold this because you're no more important. If you want to say that your rights are important, then you have to respect the rights of others as being just as important. And when you do that, if you're truly respecting the rights of others, then you can understand why it's important for you to do things like wear a mask or avoid large public gatherings right now. If you don't give a shit, if you're okay with killing grandma, and fucking go right ahead, because that's all you're going to do. You're going to just keep perpetuating this bullshit, and more people are going to die. It's like somebody asked me the other day, somebody says, hey, this virus is 98.8% survive off the virus. Why should I care? Well, because 1% of 330 million people is still 3.3 million dead Americans.
Yeah.
We shouldn't allow that to happen, especially when we can stop it or at least mitigate it.
Yeah. Like, when it comes to this whole thing, people say about banking on their immune system. Is that such a terrible option? Well, let's ask the people that had healthy immune systems, really healthy immune systems, back in the 1920s and died from, I don't know, what was that flu? The Spanish flu?
Was it 3% of the population of the world died or some shit like that?
Yeah, it was
a big number.
Yeah, but you know what killed them? their immune system. Like, there was actually this sort of spike with the people that had really good immune systems because it was their immune systems that were killing them, basically overreacting. And that's...
hyperimmune reaction.
Yeah. And it was like...
Or hyperimmunoresponse, I believe is the actual term.
Yeah. And, Garth Dryland says, new data out suggests 3 million COVID deaths to date, not just over 3. Okay. Although, to be fair, like, what Team was referencing was America, and not the entire world. But...
yeah. I was talking about, like, when someone says 1 million people in America, when they're talking about America, and they say 1% of the people that contract the virus will die. Well, if you spread that throughout the entire population of 330 million, that's 3.3 million that would have died if it was spread through the whole thing. We haven't even spread the virus through the entire United States right now. Let me look at these numbers real quick. And we only have 10%, approximately 10% of the population has been diagnosed as being COVID positive. Only 33 million.
And you know what they're going to say in like 2 years? They're going to say, why is no one talking about COVID-19 anymore? It's like, because we're all vaccinated. You know?
The same reason we don't like talk about the Spanish flu until something else comes up and we have to remind people that shit like this can happen. This isn't the first time it's happened to human society. You know, this happened. That's why I say it's different now. It's different now because it's the first time it's happened when we have global communication in an instant. You and I are having this conversation. I'm in America. You're in New Zealand. We're on opposite ends of the world. We're having instantaneous communication and data exchange. This never happened before. Yeah. So not only can we address this faster, but we also become, as a population, more aware of this faster as well.
It's also a case of when it comes to, you got to think, like, the response to the pandemic in the Spanish flu pandemic was probably very similar to the response to this. However, we can't go back and look at videos that Karens took at store of them harassing managers at stores. We can't do that for the Spanish flu. We can for this. We can for coronavirus.
Shit, they wrote about it. They wrote about it in newspapers. There's data out there, man. There's, like, a lot of people just act as if the 1918 Spanish flu was nothing, and there's data out there of major United States cities that treated the virus very differently back then, and the results within the communities were very different. I want to say there was 2 cities in Missouri or Kansas. It was St. Louis. It was either St. Louis, Missouri, and St. Louis, Kansas. And there was a national parade that passed through both cities. This was back in the day when, you know, national parades weren't on TV. You'd actually have to go to the city to see it. They had national celebrations in 2 separate cities. And the celebrations in one city was more of a, like, that they just either canceled it or severely reduced the celebration due to the Spanish flu. And in the other city, they treated it as if there was nothing wrong. Well, the other city experienced mass death, whereas the city that treated it correctly saw less of a death toll, less of an increase in infections. There is data out there that anybody can go and get and use to compare with, you know, why we choose the things we choose. The CDC, all these people, they know about this. They know about the previous data from all the different pandemics that have hit that we have access to. But we as a general population, we don't. We're very much relying on people even like me, you know, pushing out information. I go out and I'm very ignorant in this topic, but I can do the research. I can, you know, recite the studies that are shown and everything like that. But at the same time, I'm very ignorant to all this. Like, you need a microbiologist that's really talking about this. You need a virologist that's talking about this. You need someone who's more of an expert in these fields to be speaking on it. And unfortunately, we just don't have that right now. We just have jackasses like me acting like we know what the fuck we're doing.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where when you do have people that are experts, there are people that just don't listen to experts because they're experts. It's like, And it's like, okay, well, that's why normal people relaying information that can be verified is really good, because people like me and you, we are relatable. I'm not being paid by Big Pharma, even though some people may suggest that I'm being paid by NASA. I'm not. I'm just a dude in my room.
Yeah.
And I can also, I have the humility to say sometimes I can be wrong. There are some issues that I can be wrong on. If anyone wants to say that I'm wrong, present me the information that shows that I'm wrong. Right?
Yeah.
And I may come back with something, okay, what about this? So, for example, when people say that wearing masks are ineffective, what they'll say is they'll point out to mask mandate, and then they'll say there's no changes in the amount of cases after the mask mandate was introduced. And I'll be like, okay, that's not necessarily a reason for why masks are ineffective. We have studies that actually test the efficacy of masks themselves, and rather than drawing correlations between two different things, correlation does not equal causation. When you want to say that masks are ineffective, you've got to show data which shows, okay, how is the mask ineffective, rather than just pointing to either a study which says that masks, like there's a study that says masks don't significantly improve your chances of not getting the virus, right? And that is not contradictory to the statement that masks are effective. The reason being is because masks are to protect other people, not yourself.
Yeah. Brad Griffin says the Spanish flu quarantining and travel restrictions resulted in riots and protests just like today. People don't change much. And I want to agree with that, because it was so funny, right? I was sitting there watching and I was like, I wonder if I went back and watched the old people complaining about seatbelts in the 70s when they first implemented mandatory seatbelt laws. I wonder how similar their arguments would be to people who put on who do the anti-mask rhetoric. My rights, my rights. They're the same things, the same exact arguments they had about seatbelts, they have about fucking masks. Just like I assume what Brad's saying here to be true, that there probably were a lot of riots and protests back in 1918 because simply you were telling people that they could not live the life that they wanted to live, that they'd grown accustomed to doing, and things had to change due to outside circumstances. But yeah, the seatbelt people, you go and you listen to them talk about seatbelt laws in the 70s, they sound just like anti-maskers in the 2020s.
Yeah. So yeah, there's a lot of things, like people need to, it's important to know about history. It's one of them things which, there's a lot of correlation between what's happened in history and what's happening now, and people just don't realize it and make the same mistakes because they think that everything that's happening now is new, whereas everything that happened long ago, that was different. There weren't people... there wasn't all this authoritarianism, like today is 1984, back then it was, and it's like, well, no, you just, like, I
wonder if people in 1984 were like, oh man, remember when that one jackass wrote that book 1969? This is just like 69.
That'd be funny, but yeah. Anyway, I think that's all I've got to really say about that. You got any final words?
Yeah. For the evening or just for this topic?
For the evening, like I've got no more in this. That's a stupid thing.
Oh. John or Mark Visor says there was just a murder in my front yard, and I was like, what? What the fuck? And he was like, yeah, like 10 crows. Meh, meh, meh. Oh, buzzkill. But I'm glad you're okay, Mark. I'm glad the crows didn't murder you. But yeah, as far as my final words, I want to say thanks for having me on. Sorry I haven't been on. I told you, man, Sundays are hard for me. Yeah. Typically, it's family day for me. It's either family day or football day. Football day during the season, family day in the off season. You know, I got to make sure they know I love them 6 months out of the year. But I've been meaning to come on. I had a good time, man. Like, I thought when we started talking about sectionality, you were going to cry there for a second. I'm glad you didn't do that on camera. If you need time afterwards, please.
Yeah,
I'll apologize.
Yeah, I'm going to I'm going to break down crying and be like, team, how can you do this to me?
Yeah. I thought we agreed that feminism was good. It's I probably have bad takes on a lot of these things. Like, these are very opinionated takes, okay?
Yeah.
Nobody should think that what I'm saying today in regards to a lot of these topics is actual fact. A lot of these are just my opinions, and who am I to say that I'm right, you know? I can only tell you guys that I believe myself to be at least honest, and that's all I'll try to do is ensure that I give you guys an honest take from me. But thank you guys for not yelling at me and jumping down my throat for disagreeing with this very lovely and cute host of ours.
One of the things that I do have to address just before we end up is Lord Illuminous Poo says, I tried swimming with dolphins, but they're clicky, and that was for 2 USD. I'm not sure what that was in reference to. Like, I remember it coming up and I wasn't...
You don't know it? Do you not get the joke?
I kind of...
They're clicky.
Yeah.
Spell clicky differently.
Oh, yeah.
I get it. C-L-I-Q-U-E-Y.
I get it. Nice joke.
They only tend to hang out in schools of their own kind.
Gotcha.
Lots of intersectionality going on in the dolphin world.
Okay, yeah, that makes a lot of sense now. I sometimes don't get the joke until it's explained to me. But then it's like...
That typically happens with you leftist types. I'm joking. Everybody in the chat's unsubbing as we speak. I'm so sorry, guys. I was joking. I hope you haven't clicked the unsubscribe. Don't unsubscribe from Planar Walk because of the things I say.
Yeah, unsubscribe from Team instead.
Don't you dare say that.
No, everyone should go over to Team's channel and subscribe. He makes good content, and it's like he's one of the people that have managed to kind of escape the flat Earth stuff, which is really good for you. Like, I have been wanting to do this for ages. If you haven't been able to tell, it's just being able to gain your footing somewhere else is difficult.
You know, I'm going to be honest with you. It's really hard because for me, I wish I would have gotten out when I had about 2,000 or 3,000 subscribers instead of having more than 30, because the majority of the people that were there to watch me were watching me for flat Earth content. So when I first started putting out the anti-mask stuff, I mean, I was, you commie. I mean, people that would be like, I love you, and other comments, you're such a great content creator. I can't believe I've supported you, this communist fuck, you libtard. And I'm like, you have no fucking idea what I am. Like, I'm not a conservatist conservatist by no means. But I'm not a libtard either. You know, I'm not like far left or far. I kind of find myself in the middle, trying to use common sense as a way to get to the right answer or what seems right.
Yeah, like when it comes to masks, like I find that a lot of people just don't know what communism is. Like, do masks give the control of the meat? Do masks transfer the means of production from the bourgeois to the proletariat? I'd love if they did, but I don't think that's what they're doing.
Yeah, that's you. I'm sure the bourgeois class is like common in your vernacular. You just walk around to people and you're like, "Hi, my name is Planar Walk. Are you a part of the bourgeois?" And they're like, "Oh, but yes, I am, Sir Planar Walk." And you're like, "Yeah, fuck you, you fucking rich piece of shit." But I'm getting ready to get out of the Karens and anti-mask arena. I'll still cover a few of the anti-maskers, but like I said, as we get vaccinated more, and it sucks because there's an easy transition from these anti-mask Karens to anti-vaxxers. The only problem is YouTube does not like anyone talking about vaccines or anti-vaccines. Or not anti-vaccines, but anti-vaxxers, because they like, for me to cover that content, I also have to provide that content, you know? Like if I find an anti-vax video and I put it out, my channel is at risk for being struck down or being hidden because of the content I'm covering. So I think I'm gonna, you know, I'm pretty sure I've just made my choice to move on into the First Amendment auditor, bad police, and sovereign citizens.
Yeah,
you know, because there's some police officers that do some fucked up shit. They violate a lot of people's rights, even if they think they're doing it for the right cause. And my last anti-mask Karen video that I'm about to put out, there's a cop that demands a woman give her an ID, and she's in Texas, and that in itself is illegal. You don't have the right as a police officer to demand ID from somebody that you even have detained at the moment. You just can't do it.
I want to, one of the things that I want to move into is Plegge University. Or they call themselves Plegge, or they try to make themselves seem like a university. But
those people are fucking psycho.
Yeah.
PragerU, oh my God, dangerous people. Because how do they portray themselves? As a university, as a authority on education. So when they put out something, like if I put out, you know, Comstock University, and I created a channel called that, and I make it seem like I'm some real fucking university, and I've got professors, and I bring on pseudo intellectuals like Planar Walk to give us, you know, talks, lectures on intersectionality. You know, they're gonna believe him to be true and not know that he's just some sicko crazy fuck from New Zealand, you know? So just because I have the university in there, and that's what happens at PragerU. Those guys aren't educated people. Even if they are educated, they push forth very non-educational material, non-educational takes. They don't provide a lot of evidence that's properly peer-reviewed by science, and then use it as scientific evidence. Those people are nuts, and they gain so many people watch them and just believe what they say. Yeah, very dangerous.
It's because their videos are nicely edited, like what you'd expect educational content to be. The problem with PragerU is that, like, if you actually look at what they're putting on screen, right, it's like, oh, where's the axis on? What are the axes on this graph here? It's like a graph that shows like a correlation between as masculinity, or as feminism increases, then masculinity decreases, and it's like, wait, are those measurable things? And it's like, or they'll show like a correlation between something. It's like, well, what's the axis meant to be? I actually want to make a video that that's taking the piss out of PragerU. I'd need a green screen for it though, and that is where I'd say something like,
sounds like if you're gonna take the piss out of him, you need a catheter. But I mean, I don't know.
Well, my idea is basically going, well, as
he doesn't get it, guys.
I do get it. Don't worry. I'm not milking them. Guy is another one that I should have a look at. But you know, as the government gets bigger, my penis gets smaller. You know, just things like that. And
that would be funny. Come up with some Prager euphemisms, you know, like instead of Prager U, call it Prager euphemisms.
Yeah. It'd be like, I've got like a few ideas for like a script for that. It'd just be, first I'd have to record it, then I'd have to animate it, and the animation is going to take a long time. And so this video probably won't be ready for like even if I were to start today, this video probably wouldn't be ready for another couple of months. But you know, if anyone wants to give me money so that I can get this video done, I need a green screen first. So
I'd mail you my green screen. I don't use it anymore.
Okay. What type is it? Is it just a?
It's one of the green ones.
Is it like one of the ones that is basically like you set it up behind you and then it's like you put like a green sheet over it, or is it one of the more like this?
Yeah, I did. I was just kidding. I would never send you that. I would buy something for you and send it to you before I'd just send you my green screen, because my green screen is shitty. Because I went and I bought a green screen material, and then I went and bought a whole bunch of PVC pipe, and I built my own stand for it, and it falls over every time I put it up. Fuck that green screen. Go with the Elgato one. It's not that expensive, and it's retractable.
Yeah, the Elgato one seems like, because like I don't generally.
But you could easily just why don't you just go get like a green cloth, like just a solid green sheet that doesn't allow a lot of light through it. That's the only thing. You can't have light actually penetrate it, or what will end up happening is whatever's holding it up, the light will bounce off of that and then come back through the sheet, and you'll see that, and it won't. You know, like my white PVC pipes, for instance. If I lay down the sheet on it and I have too much light, too intense light, what it'll do is it'll actually penetrate the sheet, bounce off of the white PVC, and then come back to the camera, and the camera will recognize the white PVC behind it and won't green screen that out.
Well, the issue that I have with setting up a green screen would be would be
Team sucks at building a curtain hanger. What a noob. I blame Team Structural Engineering.
The issue that I'd have would be more with the with how do I hang it up, because I can't just stick it to my walls. I'd need something to hang it on, and like I'd have to get PVC pipe which falls over. And then
wait, why do you need to hold on? What? Yeah, you're not thinking about this clearly, surely. There's double-sided tape out there that works just fine for doing what you're talking about doing. If you're going to put it on your wall,
my walls,
and you just like measure it out. Go ahead.
My walls aren't that great for that kind of stuff. The reason being is because like I don't know if you can tell, but like people put blue tack on my walls and stuff, and it's like and like
okay, can you screw in a plant hanger horizontally into that wall? Yes or no? A hook.
I wouldn't be allowed to. Renting rules.
You couldn't fix that? I could fix that with toothpaste, man. They'd never even know it happened.
Yeah, like it sucks. Like I would like to get like an Elgato one someday. Like I've been wanting to get an Elgato one for ages. It's just the money. But hopefully I'll be able to use some money that I get soon. Well, that I hopefully get soon. For
go whore yourself out.
Yeah, I'm starting OnlyFans, guys. Now the question is, am I joking about that?
Your OnlyFans would probably be cuter than a lot of the chicks on there, though, to be honest.
I'm actually like tempted to start an OnlyFans. Like, oh, you know what? OnlyFans content for when I put on the cat girl's outfit, I'm gonna post that shit to OnlyFans. That's when I start the OnlyFans. If you want to get exclusive things in the OnlyFans, you gotta sub to that shit.
If you put some socks where your tits go, you would be, identical to a woman. So just shave your face.
Yeah, like
you could have a career on OnlyFans. I'm just saying.
Yeah, like if that actually took off, I'd be like, holy shit. I don't think it would work that well, but hey, you never know. Anyway, with that bombshell that people,
yeah, thanks for having me on, bro.
Yeah, we're going to end up the stream. Leave a like and subscribe if you liked this stream. Leave a comment of like what you want me to do for future streams. Like, I always want interesting ideas. I actually recently had an idea to possibly just go on Omegle, right? And debate people on Omegle, like debate random people on Omegle about different things. That'd be an interesting thing. But we'll see.
Yeah.
But anyway, I will see you in the next video. Between you and me, thank you for watching.
Y'all have a good night.